Hey guys, Thomas the Solo Jr. here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review Doctor Strange and in the Multiverse of Madness. And if you end up enjoying this full review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my Discord, second to my Patreon, third to my PayPal, and any donations will be greatly appreciated. Now that shilling is out of the way, it'll be retold at the end of the review, and with that out of the way, let's talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So, when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was definitely pretty concerned in terms of what they were showing. That is, a lot of what we've seen in Spider-Man's movie, the third one, of Doctor Strange's quote-unquote mistakes, or terrible character writing to essentially assassinate Doctor Strange's character in that great movie. Shame that he had to be the sacrificial lamb in that movie. And from there, we have skipped X amount of time. I actually have no clue at this point, because there are other events that have taken place within the series that apparently you have had to have watched, aka WandaVision, to even begin to understand at least her part of this story. Otherwise, if you're coming in like me and have only seen Doctor Strange in the Spider-Man movie, the third one, this movie is gonna be objectively confusing, and I don't think that's a good thing. Even though people are saying, oh, since it's called Multiverse of Madness, because it has that key word in it, that means that the madness of having terrible things happen, it makes it good, you see, is the defense I'm already been hearing of this movie. And I'm afraid that's not how that works. You don't get to shift terrible writing to try to accumulate it to the title of a given work. That is not how that works, I'm afraid. You need to write good characters, despite that, and you need proper setup, despite that it's called what it is called. And that's the thing about this movie, is that we jump right into some action with Doctor Strange in some spacious area, I don't know what I would necessarily even call it, and we meet America, whatever her last name is, Chavez, or however you pronounce it, I'm not entirely sure, but point being that the movie just jumps into this location, and at first the movie seems to indicate that this is a dream, based off of him waking up and seemingly after the fact sort of going about his business. That is, within the context of this dream, he says that he needs to take her power, but before she does this giving of the power, he gets stabbed and killed, and that's when he wakes up. But her scream opens up a portal, which they both fell through, and then that's when Doctor Strange awakens. So we see him meet with another doctor, Dr. West, and they see at a wedding of his crush, Christine. And he's talking about how he wants her to be happy, and so on and so forth. And some occurrence happens, some bad stuff, and he flies in to start helping people. And among them, we meet the same woman we saw earlier. From the dream. So, she claims, after being saved by Strange and Wang, or Wong, I forget which one it is, I think it's Wang, comes in and saves her. But they get through a bit of a kerfuffle with this eye tentacle monster, and eventually Strange gets the big old stabby stab on it. So she's about to run off after stealing something for some reason. I don't know why. And she claims that this was not a dream, in that he was glimpsing into another universe. So already we're having weird writing decisions about how dreams are interpreted in our world, and this is only the beginning of the oddities, and it gets significantly worse as the movie progresses. Anyway, so she claims that she can freely jump between the multiverses. So she shows him the body of this alternative Dr. Strange, the one from the dream, or the alternate world, I should say, at this point. And I forget what the line is. I just noted down that witchcraft was mentioned. And as soon as it is, we cut to our antagonist, Scarlet Witch. Now this is where the movie begins to fall apart, because again, in order to even attempt to understand her thing, is that you need to have seen WandaVision. I have not. I've only heard that this show is terrible, and it doesn't leave Wanda in a good light. Now, here's the thing about Wanda, in terms of adaptation stuff, is that out of all the characters I've seen, I think she's one of the furthest from her adaptation counterpart. That being is that, if I remember Scarlet Witch correctly, she was the daughter of Magneto, so sibling to the fast guy in one of the other X-Men movies. I forget, Quicksilver, I think his name is. Those two are siblings, and she is the daughter of, again, Magneto. And that is what I remember her from. I think she was in the show briefly in X-Men at some point, way later. I think I remember seeing her a few times there. So that's what I remember her from, in terms of adaptation stuff, but we're not here to talk about that too much, or concern ourselves too much. The problem is that it still requires material outside of this movie to begin to understand. And let's just say, for the sake of brevity, that Wanda did not leave off that place in the best of shapes. In fact, she was guilty of a guilty party. Now, to what might surprise some people is that, honestly, when I heard Scarlet Witch was first going to be introduced, I actually never thought she was going to be an Avenger. I always assumed she was going to be a villain. But since this is current Marvel, and, things are still in that weird vibe of we're trying to still be woke, or still trying to go for the heavy woman agenda, without really doing a good job at it ever. Every time they try to push this shtick, it never is written well. And I've said it consistently. I've been consistent about this, in terms of, because there's also LGBT stuff in this, as America has two moms, so that falls under that category, that I'm fine with there being LGBT content. I always have been, but I've always pushed for well-written LGBT content if that is going to apply to what you're writing, and not just to stick it in just for the woke points. That's not how that works. You don't get a free pass because you've done what now has been done already by Disney, oddly enough. So, but Disney wants to cancel that show, aka the Owl House, early cancel that show. So, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Disney is not the best to look forward to an LGBT thing from if they're going to downplay its own LGBT content when it's well written. aka the Owl House. I highly recommend checking out the Owl House. And I'll be doing a full review once that show is over, by the way. Anyway, so because I don't know anything about what happened to the Scarlet Witch, apparently she has 2 kids now, which I don't even know if that's established in WandaVision, but apparently she self-created them, question mark? I don't know. It's confusing. Anyway, so she apparently already knew who America was, so she drops her facade of trying, because Strange visits her pretty quickly, all things considered, and she drops her power, and all of a sudden she just has this evil book. How did she get this evil book? I don't know. Again, is that something that happened in WandaVision? I don't know. These are all things that are unanswered. You could have, I don't know, if you really wanted people to understand, you could have shown a clip from the show. You could have done like a flashback, given us some context for what the fuck is going on. But no, this movie's too fast-paced to do that, apparently. And now it requires extra looking into stuff that I really am not interested in watching, considering Marvel's, current consistent bad, poor writing choices consistently that have been proven time and time again. With the exception of Spider-Man, everything else has been shit. Like, as far as I know, everything else has been shit except Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the only thing that has kept Disney relevant as far as I'm concerned. So yeah. As soon as Sony fully gets Spider-Man and they like shove Disney away, that's gonna be it. I mean, here's the thing. I think I wouldn't really mind if at this point Sony just bought Marvel. Like if just Disney just let them have this, because Disney does not know what they're doing with Marvel, clearly. They're not keeping a good track record, but it's never gonna happen. Despite, the terrible after terrible conclave of shows and movies that have come out from Marvel, with the exception of Spider-Man. Anyway, getting back to this movie. Let's see. So she wakes up from her dream because, I guess, the Scarlet Witch that has kids lives actually in an alternative world to an existence, which now she craves. I don't know. So she wants the child and uses this sort of gotcha against Dr. Strange and how he fucked up with Thanos to try to, get everything in order. But she gives them an opportunity. So he goes back to the temple where he hides her, and the temple people there, I've already forgot the name of the place, prop up. And within an instant, the Scarlet Witch arrives. This is how fast the movie is happening. She's already there. She just teleports there. And they're still getting ready. But they use magic to temporarily stop her from getting in. However, she uses her mind tricks to sort of like manipulate someone to distract one of them long enough to get in and start killing people. So she is a villain at this point. If that was not clear, the moment she did this, if she was not a villain by the end of WandaVision, she is a villain now. And the answer to the problem is absolutely ridiculous. But we're gonna get to that later on, obviously, because we're going in order of actions and plot and story. So she gets to kill people, all these magic people, and So she gets to move in, attacks. She walks over all these dead people and makes her way into this puzzle glass room of mirrors. And apparently she's able to just figure out that one of them has like a mirror reflection back to the real world. I don't know how that works, but okay. And as she comes through, she's shown her kids, and this insistence keeps her driving going as she blocks some attacks that come up her way. Wang is also with Strange, but they are both stopped. He is now stopped. So she takes the portal that America kind of forces and shoves her, as well as, Dr. Strange also kind of fumbles himself through the portal as well. So they go through several dimensions, and it's all meant to be like this whole, like, oh, isn't this literally Doctor Strange when he's going through all these portals, and there's even like a neat little short animation thing that they throw in, and all these other alternate worlds that they're sort of shifting through. It's probably the cool shot of the entire movie, but I mean that does not save the story whatsoever. So when they reach their destination, they conveniently walk into a memory store. That's what it's called, I think. And Dr. Strange sees his memories with Christine, and America sees her flashback with her two moms because LGBT, but she portals them away after getting a little bee bite. Yes, that is the events that occur for her to send her two moms away into a portal. And as far as LGBT rep is concerned, that's all we know, is that she has two moms. So the representation is done poorly. I couldn't give more of a fuck. Again, if you want better LGBT rep, look at the Owl House, but that show's being cancelled by Disney. Anyway, so she portals them away and portals herself away. We then cut to Mordo, or whatever his name is. Who's a guy who wanted to kill Strange. I completely forgot this character existed, to be honest. And he explains how Strange tries to explain how Scarlet Witch, Mordo explains how the Scarlet Witch has this ability to use a doppelganger ability to shift into another body and still have the same powers, I think that's the explanation they give. I'm not even entirely sure. I don't remember. I didn't write it down word for word, obviously, but point being is that she can have a copy ability, essentially. And they stop talking about it, and she drops some tea. The mom, the other Scarlet Witch, she's like watching her alternate self at this point, and she's looking at her two sons, quote unquote, but for a moment. So we see this one woman sacrifice her life to take her book, the evil book, and get it out of her hands and stab it, which apparently works, I guess. So Scarlet Witch, seeing this, goes after Wang, the only other person in the vicinity currently of her. And in order to get him to do some talking, she makes others suffer. Like, she gets ready to kill even more wizards for her information. Again, she has killed plenty of them already. She's ready to kill even more, all for the sake of saving an alternative version of her kids, or getting to them. That is her entire journey. It's absurd, I know. So, she wants to risk a journey that he proposes that they shouldn't take, but she goes for it anyway. So, meanwhile, Strange and America get stuck, and they meet up with an alternative Christine. How convenient! And she's a scientist. How convenient. So, she names out... She claims that she apparently already knows that there are separate universes and that, in fact, she has studied them. So, the Earth that which we have conceivably have been watching, the one with our Dr. Strange, is Universe 600 something rather, I don't know, I didn't pay attention to the number. Point being, it's never been number 1, which is an odd concept to even start to think about, that the world that we inhabit isn't the main world, which I don't know why you would do that. I don't even understand why they did that in the original comic. I think that's what they did, and they made, and that is actually a reference to something, but I've never understood it. It never made any sense. Like, why would you pitch the idea that our world isn't the main one? It's just so it's just too confusing. Anyway, so Dr. Strange is pulled aside to meet a group called the Illuminati. Meanwhile, we see Wang and Witch, Scarlet Witch, I'll call her Witch for short, travel to the snow area. I don't know, some snow area. And these monsters come in and they bow down to her. So she's very clearly now been given more power than she already had before with these demon things. So we get our cameos, and I mean cameos as in plural. So we are introduced to this alternative world's characters. We meet Captain Carter, which is the female Captain America. We meet Mr. Fantastic, which is just Mr. Fantastic, surprisingly. Black Bolt, I think his name was. I'm not familiar with this character at all, by the way. And Captain Marvel. And last but not least, Charles from X-Men. You know, because he can't possibly... His last moments being one of which I think the last time he played Charles was in Logan, if I'm not mistaken. He can't rest on that. They have to bring him back, apparently, to play Charles again, to die again. And I'm gonna spoil that now, because fuck that. It's just, why? Why would you bother even bringing him in again? I don't know. I mean, he does not look like he's playing the character. Outside of giving exposition, I'm not really even sure what's left of his character. There's nothing left of his character to explore now. He's done. He's done. There's nothing left for Charles to do in this, in any attempt to bring X-Men back. I highly doubt you're gonna get the actor again after this movie. He is just too old, and I feel bad for him. And I mean, I get it, he probably doesn't even mind playing this character again, but I mean, there comes a point in time where you're just gonna be like, I'm sorry, man, you're just too old at this point. He's just, I don't know. Anyways, a lot of them all stand, or sit, rather, while we see Wanda inhabiting the body as we have seen her to do now, and getting ready to kill more, because she wasn't done killing before. So now, she proceeds to kill the Black Bolt, or whatever his name was, first, by shutting his mouth and making his head explode. Next, she kills Mr. Fantastic by turning him into a slivering pile of nothing, vanishing him into the ether, I guess. I don't know how that one works. Next, so we have a man down, and then we have another man down, and Mr. Fantastic introduced himself as the smartest man in the world, or whatever. So, you know, there goes his intelligence, I guess. So 2 men down. Charles is, of course, next, as he gets to have a brief moment where he gets to mind control her and attempt to see the alternative Scarlet Witch inside the Scarlet Witch, in which he's trying to break her free, but then the main Scarlet Witch comes in, kills him by just outpowering his mind. So, that is a first. So Scarlet Witch is powerful enough to outmind Charles. Now, I want to note that in the previous installments that Charles has been challenged in mind battles before. That is true, and was able to hold off that other mind control character in the X-Men. That happened. But I would consider that more of a close stalemate, but this is just outright no, he loses. He loses to Scarlet Witch and gets to die again. So, guess who's left to kill the Scarlet Witch? The 2 left are females, and I can't see that being anything other than, oh, look, they're doing it again with the wokeness, and I wish I was joking, but that is the order in which they do it, so that is the only interpretation I can get to. But Captain Carter doesn't fare that well either, as her own shield is used against her in her midsection. Now, the one that throws me off actually is Captain Marvel. Does she not have the equivalent power of the other Captain Marvel in this movie? Because it seemed to be established already that the Dr. Stranges, for example, the only alternative in terms of what I was understanding is that their mindsets were different, question mark. Either that or it was a different person entirely, is how I read the actual words used in this movie, and Doctor Strange, the one that we're used to seeing, is the only good one, apparently, which I would already put a yellow to red flag on that one. And apparently, opposed to that, since Scarlet Witch is evil here, and yes, she is evil, there's nothing anyone can say that can prove that otherwise now, is that every other version of Scarlet Witch appears to be good, question mark, at least the one we see in the movie, up until the Scarlet Witch decides to possess that Scarlet Witch as a copy double thingamabob and kill as that other one. So yeah, that's how that works, I guess. Except for power scaling? What? This is so inconsistent. It's so inconsistent about how they explain this. So this Captain Marvel is apparently significantly weaker than the other Captain Marvel, the one we've seen in Captain Marvel and as well as the Avengers movies, the latter one. Remember, she punched through an entire ship, like a large vessel, like massive alien technology, and she blew through that thing, no problem. She also took one hell of a beating from Thanos himself. So, flip that to this movie, where this version of Captain Marvel gets killed by a statue. I am not joking, that is how this Captain Marvel goes out. And she was one of the ones that was highbrowing Dr. Strange. Well, they all kind of were, but she definitely stood out a bit, because she explicitly said, oh, our problem isn't with the Scarlet Witch, it's with actually you, Mr. Strange, because our version of Dr. Strange was bad, so that automatically makes you the bad one, even though we've already seen that that's not true, except when it's not, because of inconsistencies of Spider-Man. Ugh. So, after that nonsense, Strange begins to fight Mordo, or whatever, and breaks free from his confines, because he was in a little, like, cufflink thing where he couldn't do magic, but now he frees himself somehow. And America breaks herself free. Apparently she has more than portal powers. She apparently also has super strength now? I don't know. No wait, actually Charles is the last one, if my notes were correct. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The fact is, he still dies. Point being that we're here now with Scarlet Witch having killed even more people. Is what's crucial to this. So, Dr. Strange, America, and Christine are all fleeing from Witch, who is using her powers of copy ability to chase them down. They lead her down a vault, or they lead down this sewer vault area, and they enter into the space between universes, is what they call this place, apparently. And the witch manages to grab America, and we know that the book is broken at this point. So she uses her to open up her portal and throw her back to her original self, because remember, she has the Scarlet Witch that has been thrown from that part, and we were following her in the copy ability for a bit now. So there's that. So, while all that's going on, sorry, I lost my place in my notes there very briefly. So, Strange is with Christine, and those two are left together, and they walk through this broken universe, is what they are calling it. And he sees this other universe as a potential third, because this is like the third one they visit now, of visiting this Dr. Strange for help and getting the book thingy for their objective. So this Dr. Strange is evil, even more evil than the other one that we saw. So the two proceed to fight in a magical music battle. The evil Strange is impaled after the process of this musical battle. And this is when we cut back to Wang, who is uncliffed for a while and finally starts to climb back up. Only a little bit. As Scarlet Witch begins to suck up America's power. So, Dr. Strange, uses a spell which he then takes control of the dead Dr. Strange that we saw at the beginning of the movie, the alternative one that died. He uses it as a zombie body to start to move about. This happens in the movie, and demons start to come out of him, saying that he's not allowed to do this, but he's trying to do the right thing through a wrong thing. So, she clears them out. Or Christine is like trying to clear them out. And through that, I just want to note that, again, Dr. Strange did a bad to do a good. All this time, Scarlet Witch has been doing a lot of bad things to try to get to a good scenario. Her own personal scenario, while alternatively, Dr. Strange did a bad thing, aka take over a dead body, but it was to do the right thing. And I think that's a very clear distinction that the movie actually does make, coincidentally. Even through its shitty writing, at least they got that a point across. I think it was unintentional based off of just the amount of terrible writing that led up to that. But yeah, like I said, I'm here to be as objective as possible, so if there is a good that can be found within this, I'm going to point it out. So, anyways, now that Dr. Strange uses the other undead things to his advantage, he begins to fly back to the witch. And Wang helps in as well. And they try to fight the witch a second time. And this time, during their debacle, they're still struggling, so Strange turns to her, and now she suddenly says, America, the girl who, when we first started, you know, was all not about her powers being sucked up by either him or her, that being Dr. Strange or Scarlet Witch, is like, yeah, I get it now, you can take it. And then he has to be like, no, this wasn't about me or, you know, or Wang or anyone else, not even Scarlet Witch. This is about you not being able to believe in yourself, because that's what was holding you back, apparently. Which wasn't made really evident, since he even literally points out in the movie that every portal has conveniently led them to the next plot point that they needed to get to. So that's pointed out in the movie, but they're also simultaneously trying to argue that she has some type of character arc, which I kind of see as weak, honestly. If that is the extent of what you could consider a character arc, it's still relatively not that strong of one. And I'm not saying you have to have a strong character arc, but I mean, they're really trying to make a point of it here at this point with saying how, you know, she needs to believe. And it almost feels like it does come out of nowhere with the timing of it and everything, and how everything else has been sort of shaping out. And you would notice that outside of her having two moms, if you were to ask me what is her character like, I would say she's sort of like a somewhat snarky female, and that's as much as I can tell you about her, because that's as much as we get. So I don't know her character by the end of this movie. I don't understand her character. I don't understand her character arc in this, or attempt out of a character arc. I was, you know, out of a comparative nature, I almost felt inclined when I was first thinking about it to compare her to Raven from Teen Titans, but Raven's different in that she struggles to keep her powers at bay because she's being. And this actually leads into Scarlet Witch a little bit too. You know, she's trying to keep her powers at bay. She's trying to do the right thing, but that power, that thing that is taking over her, aka like the Black Book, is actually a being. We know who that being is. In terms of Raven, it is her father, Trigon, later on in the series of Teen Titans. And Raven accepting her mom and understanding that she needs that dark and light within her life to overcome her trials and tribulations with her literal demon father. So yeah, I would say that that's obviously more of a character arc. So Raven has more character than both Scarlet Witch and America, There you go. I did it, folks. I did it. And all it took was a character from DC. Ooh. Look at me being spicy. But hey, let's be fair. In terms of complete comparison, DC has been kind of showing Marvel up a lot lately. I mean, the Batman is a recent example of just, like, they're doing it. If they can consistently keep making movies of that quality, I think Marvel's going to have to start looking to amp up their own quality. Otherwise, I think people are going to start more and more jumping to DC, honestly, if they're haven't done so already, because Marvel's been kind of shit. Again, with the exception of Spider-Man, who belongs to Sony, primarily. So, yeah, that's it. That's what Marvel has. It has a character that it doesn't even fully own. That's it. That's their only hope of anything right now. Is that. That is their last hook. That is their last line of defense. And I'm not joking when I say that, because, again, I think more people are going to start looking to DC. And rightfully so. If DC is going to keep providing quality content, you know, as good as Batman, I'm not saying the Batman is a perfect movie. I already reviewed that and already pointed out its flaws objectively. But comparatively, it is a better movie than this by a long shot. So anyways, so America gains that confidence that she so rightly apparently didn't have earlier in the film, even though she was a snarky, confident woman as far as I could tell. So again, I'm not sure what her character arc exactly was. But even she can't fully come to the conclusion of beating Scarlet Witch. So she opens a portal to the other Scarlet Witch, the one that she controlled, but she explicitly shows them the family. And it is only when she actually physically sees them, or they see her, I should say, and them freaking out about her being a monster, and, you know, because that alternate world has their mom, aka their Scarlet Witch, or Wanda, if you want to use her real name, and the Scarlet Witch now at this point only realizes that she was doing a big bad. She then proceeds to apparently go off into the wherever and break every version of the book, apparently, according to Dr. Strange. So after the fact, we cut to, as we are closing up the movie, he admits he loves all the versions of Christine, but he's got his own stuff going on still. Then we cut to a rebuilt temple, which they apparently just got new wizards, or, okay. They were able to clean that up and make it look like nothing ever happened. So, damage all rebuild. All the death just wiped away. And I'm sure that was done for convenience of being like, oh, see, Scarlet Witch, she wasn't that bad, was she? See, the temple's fine. It's rebuilt. I'm like, come the fuck on. All the meanwhile, we see America already starting to practice his type of magic, so she's getting into that. I'm curious if they're gonna do her becoming America Strange, because they need a new female to become Dr. Strange. Because every female's taking over a male role in Marvel these days. You can't have competent Marvel male superheroes anymore that are just that. And you can't even have competent female villains either. You can't even have competent female heroes in America. So you can't have competent anything when you try to go woke for woke's sake and don't even consider the deeper writing things that you should be considering when writing any consistent story. But as Dr. Strange asks Wang about his happiness, and he goes off riding into the streets of wherever, his third eye opens and the movie ends, and if there was an after-credit sequence, I don't care anymore. I couldn't give a fuck anymore about these Marvel after-credit sequences anymore. They used to be exciting. They really did used to be exciting. But that was off of the premise that the movie I was currently watching was actually good at that point in time. Now it's just like, I don't care. Because it's just going to be another shit-filled nonsense ride of whatever they're going to do. Because I have no clue what's coming up next, obviously. But whatever it is, it's not going to be good unless it's Spider-Man. Because again, that is the only thing that they are allowed to have right. And again, that's not even Disney fully. That is Sony/Disney. More so Sony than Disney. But Marvel is on a thread, and its thread isn't even fully connected to it. So that should tell you everything you need to know about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. In terms of score, I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 10. It is bad. Very, very bad. And all of its high-end, flashy, high art, craziness can't save shitty writing. No matter what. We always take it back to the basics. And that's, if you've made it this far into the video, then let that lesson sink in again. You always go back to the basics of when you want to tell a good story, you need to be a good writer first and foremost. That is the most important aspect, and yet consistently in these more modern Marvel movies, we have seen shitty writing, with the exception of Spider-Man, who's Sony, so it doesn't count even. Shitty writing after shitty writing. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you even doing? Who are you hiring? What do you do? Why are you trying to push so hard on a thing like wokeness, which is something you don't even have to try that hard to do, by the way? Again, the Owl House, which is the canceling of the shows that they want to do. So that should tell you everything you should know about Disney as a company. The hypocritical Disney of them saying on the broader scale that they want to do LGBT content, and yet when they do it, it's always shit. It's always been shit. There's never been a good example of it on Marvel. There's not one good example. Hell, I've said this, that there hasn't been good animation LGBT content with the exception of the Owl House. That is the exception. That is the best LGBT content objectively currently in any media or any animated media, I should say, or show written, because I'm not counting video games when I say that, because there could be plenty of well-written LGBT gaming characters that but I want to keep that separate from movies. In terms of movies, explicitly, in TV shows, it has been a fuckfest of just terrible LGBT written content. It's always been shit. And again, it took the Owl House to be moderately written at best, and it's the show that's being canceled by Disney, so there you go. Thanks, Disney. You always know how to fuck up everything, including Doctor Strange, again. So that's my review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It's shit! So, yes. If you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye!